Wait for that. Okay, so we are live, guys. Hi, everyone. Back with DSSBreak. We're going to give people a couple minutes to get here. So we're just going to hang out. I hope everybody's having a great week. I was just telling my guest Steve that we're having a more easygoing week this week than usual. So it's been nice. I actually took a little, not a vacation, but a little getaway on Tuesday and Wednesday with the family. So that was really nice. So
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so it was really lovely to do that. And yeah, I guess that's the beauty of sometimes, remote work is that you could do it from anywhere, right? So it's really awesome to be able to do that. And I hope all of you guys also had having a great week. So let's give people just a couple more, minutes here to get here, and then we'll dive right in here. All righty. So let's see. All right. So I think now we can get started. So I'm going to officially say hi, everyone. Welcome to DSSBreak. I'm live here every Thursday to bring you guys the latest news and great interviews in a 15-minute break. I'm Anna Anderson, CEO and founder at Formulated By, the home of the Data Science Salon, and I'm streaming here live from Formulated By. We are in the heart of Miami, right next to the Design District here. It's a very fun place to visit and live. So it's almost Friday, and we've had another awesome week. As I said, it was a little bit more chill this week, which we love. We've been doing little giveaways. So today we're giving away 3 subscriptions to our Insider platform. So the first 3 people that comment, they'll get a subscription to the platform, which has amazing content, which you don't want to miss out, and you can watch it whenever you like. I'm very excited to welcome my guest today. Joining me is Yi Kang. She's a director of data science at Gannett, a USA Today network division, and she was also one of our speakers at DSSVrtual a couple of weeks ago, and you gave a really awesome, very fascinating presentation about a stakeholder-in-the-loop approach to keyword optimization. So I'm really excited to kind of talk to you a little bit more about that and have you here. So welcome, Yi. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Of course, and thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure giving a talk at DSS earlier. Hopefully, hello, everyone online. Hope you're all keeping safe. And yeah, just to introduce myself, I am a director of data science at Gannett. For those of you who don't know what Gannett is, we are the company behind the USA Today network. We are the largest US newspaper publisher by circulation. And there are 2 sides of Gannett, and my team works on the B2B side of Gannett, where our work mostly focuses on ad optimization. So a little bit about my background. I come from, I studied math and economics in undergrad. So I've always enjoyed solving open-ended problems. So after undergrad, I actually thought I was going to be an economist for a while. Went to grad school. Then 2 years into it, decided that no, a PhD or life in academia is not really for me. So, and then I went to work in industry, where my first job is with this company called the Corporate Executive Board. It is now a part of Gartner, and it is a consulting company, but not really in the traditional sense, because we are a membership-based organization that provides best practice insights to our member companies, most of them Fortune 500 companies. So I worked there for a couple of years in different fields, in marketing, in market research, and even later on in the human resources world. So it was really interesting seeing the different kinds of problems that our member companies are trying to solve. And there I was on the quantitative side of the fence. And I say quantitative because this is before data science became a buzzword. But nonetheless, the nature of the work is not all that different. So usually we would have best practices on the qualitative side, showcasing like what one company did right. And then you would also have the quantitative side that basically proves that in general, it works for everybody. So that experience taught me a lot about just understanding client intent and their problems and how to communicate technical concepts to them in a way that makes sense. And starting in 2016, I worked at Gannett, so it was exciting for me to jump into a whole different area, which is media and entertainment. And there I was one of the earliest hires on the data science side. So my team was initially under strategy, then for a teeny bit we're under sales, and eventually we landed in product. And that turned out to be a very good place to be for us, in part because we found this really awesome group of stakeholders who are our partners and our support network in terms of delivering those data science projects. So my talk at DSS was to a large extent inspired from that experience.
Cool. No, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's awesome. And it sounds like you're doing some amazing work there. And it's really cool that you've been in different kind of parts of the org. So I think you have a lot of, knowledge of how just things work together, which probably helps you make better decisions overall as a director of data science. But I wanted to go back to your presentation and kind of talk a little bit about the most challenges, kind of the most common challenges that you see when it comes to optimization, when a keyword optimization is used, because I feel like again, we're in marketing, and I think it's really interesting to see how you guys are actually doing work to really optimize that.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a good question. So keyword optimization is a pretty large area. So like I touched on briefly during the presentation, you could optimize your positive keywords, your negative keywords, you can optimize the match types, etc. But if I were to, I guess, really boil that down to a reasonably short answer, I think I'm going to say that you have to be careful to not let perfect be the enemy of the good. Because especially with what I talked about during the presentation, which is optimizing low-performing keywords, there often isn't one right answer. When it comes to things like restricting match types, if I had two campaign managers do it, they might slightly disagree with each other. So all that we could do, and probably the best way that we could take, is basically good enough sooner to have something that optimizes reasonably well, push it out of the gate, and then test it in the wild on Google, on Bing, and let's see how it performs. So you have to keep track of it after the first launch. It's not like a launch and forget about it kind of thing. You have to train, you have to retrain, and then gradually sort of you get to that optimum sort of steady state. But you don't want to hold off on a project for like 6 months until you address like all of the outlier cases before you push it into production. It's always a balancing act.
Right. So you're looking at this process as a product, right? Which is really interesting, and pushing it out that way. Yeah, I think that's the new way to really look at campaigns. I think because it's I think that's the right way to do it, and I think more and more folks, even without data science teams, might be able to learn from you guys and how to optimize their campaigns better. But you mentioned Bing. Do people actually still use that search engine? Is that still?
Yes,
they do. Yeah, you do see some traffic coming from that, and I always wonder if what is the percentage of users that you guys are still seeing on that platform?
I can't give you an exact number, but it really depends on the campaign. It depends on your category, obviously. But one thing that I've learned, especially at my first job, is that you should never assume that you know the customer, because you're not the customer. You're just one of millions of customers. So in this case, it's also true. Like when I search for things, I don't naturally just go to Bing. But apparently there is a good portion of the US population, at least, that does use Bing. And there, even if you take a ding for traffic quality, you could oftentimes get cheaper clicks that way. So it all depends on what your use case is, what you're trying to go after, what you're selling. And for a lot of our advertisers, it works out for them.
Cool. Hey guys, that's a tip. Don't forget about Bing. Whoever is watching and doing, keyword optimization and all of that. No, thank you so much for going over that. I want to kind of jump back. You mentioned talking a little bit about how teams need to be aligned. And how you need to align with stakeholders. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how do you really make sure that everyone's aligned and on the same page? Because I'm sure your organization is ginormous and it's really hard to do that. So maybe you could give us a little bit of tip for that as well.
Sure. Well, I can at least tell you how things worked out for us, and it's going to be a little different across different organizations. So Gannett is big, but the number of stakeholders we usually work with on any particular project is generally not ginormous, definitely single digits. The way we sort of try to get agreement with stakeholders is really on two things. So one, like I said, the KPI and the hypotheses. If we're going to do a project, let's at least agree that on what we're trying to achieve and what needles are we trying to move. Because like I said, if we don't agree on that very early on, then it's very likely that we'll spend time redoing parts of the project, or it might get scrapped altogether. And second is really sort of agreeing on impact. And this one is, I think, going to be a little bit harder, because when you talk about business impact, some things maybe you can quantify, but others might be somewhat of a guesstimate. There are times when you can get data, maybe from logs, maybe from past usage patterns, but sometimes you will only have something qualitative. Or in other cases, you might even have to take a leap of faith. So we definitely, in terms of our whole project prioritization, try to consider confidence in the result as an additional criteria in terms of how that ranks in the scheme of things. But I would say getting all the stakeholders in a room with us to talk about it early and often would go a long way towards resolving any potential sort of disagreement. And having a culture that encourages open debate will also go a long way.
Right. I agree with you 100% on the last part, because I think if, sometimes people are afraid to speak up, and I think you have to definitely create that culture of trust and openness so people can really collaborate successfully. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So no, great. Thank you so much for sharing. We don't have a lot of time, but I do want to ask you this last question that I had. What advice would you give to somebody trying to break into the industry? Because it is the hottest, data science, as you said, it became buzzword. Now it's, everybody's hiring data scientists. What advice would you give to somebody that is really interested and they have they want to come and do some data science work?
Okay. I guess my advice basically boils down to definitely work on your soft skills. Because I think most applicants that I've seen, the technical skills are definitely there, but soft skills is often where people get screened out. Like if you're, for example, practice presentation, practice presenting technical concepts to a non-technical audience. See if they would get it. Practice presenting to your grandma, maybe, and practice your writing skills. How to write a good business email that gets quickly to your point. And also teamwork and autonomy. That's really important, especially, post-COVID. Who knows, many of us may never go back to the office, and, you're just going to be collaborating with people remotely. Like communication skills, super important. And being able to sort of direct your own work, know when to ask help, know when to, manage up, manage down, like that is important as your technical skills.
Yeah, no, I think, we keep on hearing more and more of that as well. I thank you so much for sharing that advice. I think it's, soft skills is like that's what's missing sometimes, you know, in that role. So I think that's very important advice. And I heard that you guys are hiring. So maybe you could mention that a little bit about that before we wrap things up.
Oh, yeah, of course. So here's a shout out to all of you guys who are listening. We are hiring on my team for a new data scientist. You'll be working on a lot of the projects that we're currently working on. So that means a huge chunk of ad optimization. Ad experience is not required, but it is definitely a plus. If you have a creative, inquisitive mind and you love solving business problems, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Send me your resume, and I can also post a link here so you can apply directly on our website. Awesome. So yeah, looking forward to hearing from you guys.
Yeah, you get to work with Yi and her team. That it sounds like an awesome, interesting job. So thank you so much, Yi. It was great having you today. And also at DSSVrtual, we look forward to having you back again, especially when we're back hybrid and in person too. We'd love to see you again. And I hope that everybody else has a wonderful rest of the week. All right.
Thank you so much for having me, Anna.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. See you guys.